Okay, my friends, 2022 is closing in on us like a terrifying sheep. I don't know what that means. And it's all well and good to do some predictions, but that's also a little bit boring. So what we're going to do today here on What Culture Wrestling is firstly, hello, my name is Simon Miller. Welcome, thank you very much for joining me. And we are going to make some bold predictions. That's right, so some of them you're going to go, what, that sounds absolutely ridiculous. But that, my friends, is the whole point. So make sure you get down in the comments and do the same kind of thing. And of course, you want them to be a little bit realistic. You can't say, oh, an alien's going to come down to Earth and become the AEW champion, because that would be nuts. But either way, hit that subscribe button, and yes, this is 10 bold wrestling predictions for 2022. Number 10, NXT 2.0 becomes NXT 3.0. Now, I don't mean they're going to start calling it NXT 3.0, but what I do mean is if NXT 2.0 continues to go on the same path that it is, which is where you have to call a spade, and ratings aren't going in the right direction, well, you just know WWE and Vince McMahon are going to look around the room and say, well, what do we need to do now? And they're going to change it all again. Now, I don't really know what this is going to entail. And if I had it my way, NXT 2.0 would finally find some momentum and start to ride that wave. But given that it's been going on a few months now and nobody really gets it, well, it's starting to look like a little bit of a worry. And what will be a massive shame is the 42,796 wrestlers that WWE has already advertised to appear on the show may not actually even be able to debut. Like, do you remember that recent takeover where every single gap between matches was, oh, this guy's coming, oh, this girl's coming, this kid is coming, this grandmother is coming. By the end of it, I'm like, who the flub isn't going to be on NXT? Then I had to check my diary to see if I was going to be on there, but they don't want me. That's no big of a surprise. Number 9, what NXT 2.0 may do before it becomes NXT 3.0. And what I mean by that is some of the character choices that are currently going down. We all know about the interesting nature of Joe Gacy, which does make you raise an eyebrow and look around the room. And do you remember that episode recently where somebody ate sushi and their reaction was, oh, what is this crazy, crazy food? I was like, lots of people eat sushi. Like, you can have pizza, or you can have Indian food, or you can have a burger, or you can have some sushi. I mean, that one really did go right over my bald head. And if this is the direction of travel, eventually WWE are going to do something that stops everybody in their tracks. They're like, yes, hello, over here. How are you doing? Yeah, you can't do this. It ain't kosher. I get what they're trying to do, of course. They're trying to go back to the Attitude Era and present risque stuff, but also present controversial stuff. But you shouldn't be doing that for the sake of it, because I tell you it never works, and yes, in 2022, may cause you a little bit of bother. Number 8, CM Punk turns heel. Now, this isn't that bold of a prediction, given that recently in his feud with MJF, CM Punk went full-on mega heel when he was in Maxwell Jacob Friedman's hometown, but this was clearly done for the evening. So I am going to say, in the 12-month period that is just around the corner, Mr. Punk will go full-on bad guy. And this isn't because CM Punk isn't capable of remaining a babyface. I tell you, I would have taken happy-go-lucky CM Punk until the day that I die. But how excited did you get when you saw glimmers of the old Punk when he doesn't care and he's going at the audience and he has a massive chip on his shoulder? He is just so damn good at it, and it made me warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum. It also opens up the door for the potential Hangman Adam Page versus CM Punk world title feud, and once again, that's something I need in my life. And I know that CM Punk has come out there and say, hey, I'm here for a long time, not a good time. Well, no, he's there for a good time and a long time. The point is, this is nothing short-lived. You know, he's dedicated himself to the company, but I still want that match. I'm a very impatient wrestling fan. I need it yesterday. So yeah, I've said it. CM Punk turns heel and he starts cutting those wonderful promos. I swear he's the best. Number 7, the rise of Bron Breakker. Right, again, so you're now looking at your YouTube device going, Simon, what? You told me bold predictions, and now you're coming out with this nonsense, and yes, I get it, but what I'm saying this, it's a two-parter. 1, he will be called up to the main roster, either Raw or SmackDown, but also, before the last day of December, in 2022, I shall be able to look you in the eye and say, Bron Breakker has been, or still is, a WWE champion. Now, I was going to say the Royal Rumble at first, but that's coming in January, and Bron probably won't even make it to either Raw or SmackDown in January. But maybe he pops up around March or April time, or post-WrestleMania, where everyone's like, oh my gosh, we need something new. And I'm going to say he becomes the WWE champion. Now, he probably won't become the Universal champion, because Roman Reigns will be the Universal champion till the end of time. But I've said it now, these words have come out of my mouth, and honest with you, why the hell not? WWE absolutely needs some freshness. So if this is your guy, and this is the dude you're going to believe him, push him to the moon. And when he's up there, put him on the sun and Mercury and Planet and Saturn, whatever the hell you want to do, turn him into a star. Because flub me, that's what wrestling needs. Number 6, a big AEW name requests their release. So this is going to happen eventually. It's just the nature of things. Somebody somewhere in the AEW roster will wake up one day and decide, you know what, I'm not very happy with my place. We are living in a competitive space, so maybe I should start to do a little bit of a rumbling. And there have been hints of this too, especially when it comes to the likes of Brian Cage. Him and his wife have been very vocal about the fact that they believe he deserves more, and as of December the 14th, 2021, well, he's not getting it. In fact, I haven't seen him on TV in ages. And you can even apply this logic to someone like Jake Hager, and maybe if WWE did hear about this, Vince McMahon would be like, well, he used to be Jack Swagger, he was a former world champion, we do have this big open slot, open void at the moment, maybe we should bring him back and once again, flop, push him to the top. I mean, while I'm all for All Elite Wrestling having a bigger roster as possible, because it means jobs for wrestlers, and that's wahoo wahey, it means that someone at some point ain't gonna be happy. And if they get to the point where they're super duper sad, of course you're going to ask to be released. I mean, it happened to Big Swole recently, and I would imagine in 2022, we're going to get many more, but I shall put my money, because we are playing the bold prediction game, on Brian Cage. I know that wasn't as exciting as you were expecting, but what do you want from me? Money? I'll give you some. Number 5, Roman Reigns remains the Universal Champion. And I made hint of this a couple of entries ago, but seriously, as of right now, who do you think is going to be able to beat Roman Reigns as Universal Champion? Now, Brock Lesnar does have an outside shot. I could see that happening. It will be a short-lived title reign, and then the belt will go back to Roman. But even if we did the Rock match, you don't put the championship on the Rock. Dwayne Johnson don't need that. Dwayne Johnson right now is probably the most famous man on the planet. But let's say that we don't go with Brock, right? Brock tries and he fails and he tries and he fails and he goes back home and he kills another moose. Who else is there? Would I love to see Mustafa Ali as champion? Absolutely not going to happen. Would I love to see Ricochet as Universal Champion? Absolutely not going to happen. Chad Gable, Otis, so on and so forth. None of these dudes are going to be put in that position because that's just what WWE does, which means the belt stays on our tribal chief. And in many ways, this may actually be the best way to do it because whoever does dethrone Roman should suck in all of his aura and suck in all of his power and then start getting booked like he did. Because if you do that to a young guy who all of a sudden is also smashing and crashing, whatever the hell he says, every single fan will go, well, this guy's very exciting, maybe I should keep an eye on him. And isn't that the point of the whole Roman Reigns experiment? To take all the joy and pass it across to somebody else? Of course it is. So if there really isn't anybody that WWE is going to get behind, then keep it on Roman Reigns. And then for the love of everything, get to 2023 and find someone. Number 4, the Jeff Jarrett comeback. Now maybe he could go back to WWE, maybe he could go to AEW, but once again, we're talking about bold predictions. And given how many free agents there are in the wrestling world right now, and given how much Jeff Jarrett does like to run a wrestling company, well, put your hands together, and this is my guess. Because that's right, I totally believe that Mr. Jarrett is going to try and find the money to start a brand new wrestling promotion that kind of sits between the indie scene and AEW and WWE, and goes to the likes of EC3 and Braun Strowman and Matt Cardona, Keith Lee and Bray Wyatt and John Morrison and Tegan Knox and Mercedes Martinez and all of these people and goes, hey, why don't you come over to me and why don't you help me build something great? And there is a small chance this could happen because if you are a TV executive and you see the numbers that WWE is doing and you see the numbers that AEW is doing, you may go, well, maybe there is a spot for number 3, and if we treat it right, it could even become number 2. I mean, it won't, but you gotta believe. And if anybody is gonna do it, it's probably gonna be JEFFJARRETT. Is that how you spell it? I don't even know. He's made it very clear that he doesn't feel like he is done with this side of the business. So sit down and watch. And maybe 2022 is gonna be even more exciting than any of us thought. The question is, what do we call it? I'm gonna go with PWE, which is Pro Wrestling Entertainment. I'm sorry. Number 3, Braun Strowman returns to WWE. Now this one may have just taken a little bit of a left turn because of course he turned up at the Ring of Honor show the other day aligned with EC3. But really, when you look at someone like Braun Strowman or Adam Scherr, doesn't he just tick all the World Wrestling Entertainment boxes? The answer, of course, is yes. It also comes down to time, because even though Strowman was being treated pretty badly before he did get released, If you do wait long enough and then bring him back, not only will he get that nostalgia pop, but you can start to rebuild him as a proper monster. And I know there's people out there going, yeah, but we've got Omos as the 7-footer. I do not understand this. I'm happy with having a 7-footer. I'm happy with having a 6'5". I'm happy with having a 6'7". If we tie this into the Attitude Era when everybody was tall, did people give a flub then? No, so they won't give a flub now. And this also makes perfect sense because what is WWE's MO right now? Let's find the biggest guys possible. And not only is he a big guy, but he's able to move for a dude that is that big and he has the experience. So let's just make it happen and stop wasting everybody's time. Number 2, the mass social media exodus. Do you want to know what one of the worst parts of 2021 was? Cody Rhodes and other wrestlers like he decided that social media and Twitter especially was so toxic and they got harassed so much they closed down their account. Now, of course, this all comes down to trolling, which is a problem for everybody, and never forget these people would never say the things they say online to your face because they are absolute cowards, but nobody should have to experience this, especially not to the point where they actually look at this tool that could be used for good and go, you know what, it's just not worth it, it's making me sad. It's no surprise that ages ago, the likes of the Young Bucks also took a social media break, because how could you not when you've got a bunch of crazy people going, oh, you suck, your company sucks, and you shouldn't have done this angle, blah, blah, blah. So it would not surprise me at all in 2022, we get a lot less of this interaction, and that should be the best thing ever. I mean, the wrestlers are right there, and you can have a conversation, and as ever, the human race is just ruining it. And number 1, WWE pushes the panic button. Deep down in my tum-tum, do I believe this is gonna happen? No, I do not. But I probably also would have said that about Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman when they became the Raw and SmackDown directors. And there is one last person, here he is on my hand, that WWE could bring back if they truly are worried. And of course, his name is Vince Russo. Now, the only reason I can't buy into this completely is because Vince Russo has said some terrible things about WWE, even over the last few months, and he was brought back in a little bit after he left WCW, and that went so badly, I don't even think it lasted 5 minutes. So let's go back to the NXT stuff we were talking about earlier. Let's say USA does ring up WWE and says, look, I don't know what you're doing, but it ain't working right now. And everyone's scrambling around going, ideas, 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 and they still want this edgy adult content. Maybe they do go, Mr. Russo, you love this crazy stuff. Would you like a shot of it? And I won't lie to you, if that does happen, I ain't gonna be able to watch NXT anymore. But what did I say at the start of this video? Bold predictions? What's bolder than this? Also, look, don't get me wrong, he'll pitch one angle that may make it to TV, and then he'll be gone in 6 weeks, but that ain't the point. He will still be given one last shot. Oh, I actually don't think it is gonna happen. But hands up if you're now a little bit worried. Hand stays up. Now, please do leave a comment below, and like I say, let me know your bold predictions. If I see any nonsense like Drew McIntyre becomes WWE Champion, I'm going to find you and give you a hug, because I like to think I'm a nice person. Also, like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Head over to whatculture.com where you can read articles like this with your eyes. Make sure you follow us on social media, and be nice. I just talked about it. And we have a ton of videos, literally a ton. Watch them. My name is Simon What Culture. Thank you for joining me as always. Make sure you do have a lovely end to 2021 and make sure you have an even better start to 2022. Live the life you've always wanted to live, and I'll talk to you again soon.